So if we look at anxiety in this new way, and we see anxiety as the symptom rather than the problem, the roots of anxiety are in old experiences where you have stepped into survival mode, whatever that may mean for you. When you had to protect yourself, when you had to take care of yourself and your siblings, when you had to go through a stressful situation, a very difficult situation, but you didn't have time to deal with the emotions, to acknowledge the emotions, to honor the emotions, to validate the emotions, to feel the emotions. You had to just put them aside and focus on staying alive or keeping your business open or keeping your job going or keeping your family afloat or whatever the thing was that happened. And this may be true even if you were a little kid. Your first feelings of anxiety were probably as a little kid. The first roots of anxiety were probably before you were 8 years old. That you maybe learned that you had to deal with stress in this certain way and that you had to start feeling this way and that you had to stop yourself from feeling the feelings because there were bigger things to do. There were more important things to do than to feel your feelings. Usually feelings of anxiety as an adult come from places before we were 14 years old. And our mind is so powerful that it just keeps recreating these feelings over and over. It just keeps building on what it already has as a root system. You know, we talk about very often that our brain really loves the familiar and the similar. So every time you are in an experience, your beautiful brain is going back to the past, looking for experiences in the past that match what you're feeling right now. And we use that experience as a recipe of how to respond emotionally, physically, and even with our behaviors. And the more often those recipes are used, the stronger the connection gets. And the stronger the connection gets, the more powerful a habit can form. And the more the habit forms, the more we identify with anxiety. The more anxiety becomes a part of our identity. So what I help my clients with is actually going back to those experiences from the past and helping to neutralize the physical, emotional, and behavioral responses of those experiences so that when your brain goes back to those experiences to use them as a reference, that feeling is not present anymore. And that allows you to be in the present moment, come back to this present moment, and make your decisions from here. Make your decisions, your reactions, your responses from this present moment with the present wisdom that you carry. The wisdom that you've been gaining your whole life. So as you are thinking about whether or not you are identifying yourself as a person with anxiety, as an anxious person, and you're also looking at the fact that anxiety is a symptom, you can start to separate yourself. And here's how we're going to do it, okay? Here's how we're going to break the identity of being a person who is anxious or an anxious person, and how we're going to step into the identity of a person who has feelings of anxiety. Okay? This is really important because your brain doesn't know the difference between a real event or an imagined event. And it doesn't understand the difference between when you are saying something that's beneficial and you're saying something that's unbeneficial. It just takes whatever you're thinking, whatever you're saying as a truth. And the more often you say these things, the deeper the belief systems get around it, okay? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to start to notice yourself as a person who no longer says, I am anxious or I have anxiety. You're going to catch yourself in this, okay? You're going to be imperfect about this. So give yourself a break already, but start to notice. Start to notice how those statements feel. I have anxiety, or I'm an anxious person. Either of those things may have come up in your vocabulary a lot. And that's okay, no judgment, right? But you get to begin to separate yourself. Now, the new statement that I want you to say instead is that I have feelings of anxiety. I have feelings of anxiety. You notice the difference right there, right? This is really important to notice that it starts to give you a separation right away. It starts to give you a separation between, there's a little space now between I'm anxious, I have anxiety, I'm an anxious person, to I have feelings of anxiety. And you're going to notice then when you say things like, I am anxious about XYZ, whatever that is, fill in the blank, that you have a stronger attachment to the anxiety than when you say, I am having feelings about XYZ, and anxiety is showing up in my body this way. I'm having thoughts about XYZ, and anxiety is showing up in my body in this way. You can see then that you start to notice that it actually is a symptom, not something that is a standalone that just appeared out of nowhere and now you have to fight against it. When you start to notice that anxiety is a feeling in your body and it creating thoughts in your head and physical responses in your body, that you can start to look at it as a symptom that can be managed. Nope, that's what they want you to believe, right? It's a symptom that can be dissolved. It's a symptom that can be healed. Because what we're doing is not actually looking at anxiety as the thing on its own. Remember? Anxiety is a symptom, and we can go to the thing that's actually causing the anxiety. So as you are separating yourself, you might notice that in the past you have said the phrase, my anxiety. My anxiety does this. My anxiety feels like this. I want you to make the commitment to yourself right now, if you are ready at all to reduce or fully release feelings of anxiety, that you no longer say the phrase, my anxiety. Because we love things that are our possessions. And every single time that we use the word my in front of anything, our body, our mind holds on to it, tightens that grip. So if you have any desire at all to reduce feelings of anxiety in your body, to reduce your connection to anxiety, let the last time that you said my anxiety be the last time that you said it. From now on, you're going to say, I'm having feelings of anxiety about XYZ. I'm having thoughts about this circumstance, and anxiety is showing up in my body this way. It's not something that you have to own. It's not something that you possess. It's not something that has to stay with you forever and ever. It's something that you can begin to separate yourself from, look at, experience, and allow to move through your body and away, out of your body. Yes, let me say that again. Anxiety is something that you can allow yourself to feel. Acknowledge that you're having feelings of anxiety in your body, and then allow it to move out of your body and on. You can allow that feeling to move on. Now, next time we're going to talk about the reasons why we might want to hold on to anxiety, the benefits of having anxiety. I know that sounds kind of wild, doesn't it? But if you're building a belief system for yourself about anxiety and identifying yourself with anxiety and using phrases like my anxiety, some part of you, maybe not your conscious mind, but some part of you is taking on anxiety and holding on to the anxiety because there is a secondary benefit. It's called secondary gain, but often people actually find benefit in the things they're struggling with. and they hold on tightly to them because they can use it to benefit. We'll talk about that another time. But for right now, I just want you to be in this present moment, noticing any feelings of anxiety that you might have, acknowledging them as the feelings of anxiety, the way anxiety is showing up in my body, this physical response of anxiety, this mental response of anxiety. This is how I behave when I have feelings of anxiety. You can notice that you begin to separate yourself from being anxious and begin to identify that you have feelings of anxiety. As you begin to separate yourself, you can notice that the feelings of anxiety won't be as strong. They won't be as powerful. What can you do then? What can you do then on the other side of anxiety? Who are you on the other side of anxiety? I want you to think about, as anxiety is moving away from being an identity, who are you on the other side of it? Who have you dreamt of being that this identity of anxiety has not allowed you to be? Remember, as you're doing this, none of this is your fault. We talk about anxiety in such a way that it's natural for people to take it on as an identity. And we've been told over and over that anxiety is something that you have to manage. And I'm introducing a new way of being for you, a new idea for you, a new way of looking at anxiety as a symptom rather than the problem itself. So let yourself think about who you're going to be, who you want to be. Anxiety might show up in your body in a certain way and in your mind and in your thoughts as you're exploring this. And I want you to breathe and continue with the experience. Allow yourself to think about how much time you've given to anxiety already. How much of your life has centered around anxiety. This is not a judgment. This is an acknowledgement. Just looking at the data. Who have you stopped yourself from being because of anxiety? And who are you ready to allow yourself to be, even though there's been anxiety? Even though you feel anxiety now, you can learn to release it. You can learn to love yourself in a whole new way. You can learn to allow yourself to have the life that you want. You can actually learn how to dissolve it. If you're ready to step into this new way of being, if you're ready to step beyond the anxiety, if you're ready to look at the source of the anxiety, the root of the anxiety, and heal it so the anxiety itself won't even exist, reach out. Reach out for help. You can connect with me at callwithrebecca.com. And I'm happy to talk to you about what we can create for you.